Hello, curious minds. Welcome to a deep dive into our digital world, a realm governed by an invisible yet all-powerful force. Today, we're plunging into a question that defines our modern era and perhaps our very selves. Are you ready to look behind the screen and uncover the truth? The question is as simple as it is terrifying. The algorithm that picks your next video, your next news article, or even your future partner, is it merely a mirror reflecting your deepest desires, even the ones you won't admit? Or has it instead become a puppeteer, shaping your tastes and creating addictions? Think about it for a moment. Every swipe, every like, every second you pause on an image, you're feeding this intelligence. You're teaching it your secrets, your fears, and your desires without uttering a single word. You're creating a digital portrait of yourself, but you don't know who's holding the brush. Let's deconstruct this dilemma. To start, let's explore the first idea, the algorithm as a simple, pure mirror. In its early days, this technology was designed to be a tool for discovery, a mere recommender helping us navigate the infinite ocean of information that is the internet. Imagine each click is a brushstroke. You search for videos about classical guitars, and the algorithm shows you more of them. You get interested in Stoic philosophy, and suddenly your feed is brimming with quotes from Marcus Aurelius. In this phase, the system simply listens and gives you more of what you ask for. Seems harmless, right? It's a perfect service. The algorithm, like an impeccable digital butler, learns your preferences to save you time. It knows you so well that it anticipates your desires before you're even aware of them yourself. It's the most faithful mirror you could imagine, showing you a curated version of the world that fits you perfectly. This is the utopia we were sold. A personalized universe where all content is tailor-made for you. No friction, no dissonance. Just an endless stream of content that pleases you, validates you, and makes you feel understood. A digital haven against the chaos of the outside world. But this is where the story begins to darken. A perfect mirror doesn't just reflect the light, it also reflects the shadows. What happens when your clicks stray, even out of curiosity, into darker territories? What occurs when you watch a conspiracy theory video out of simple, morbid curiosity? The algorithm doesn't judge. It has no morals. Its sole objective is to keep your attention for as long as possible. If it detects you spent 5 extra seconds on a sensationalist headline than on a scientific article, it takes note. For it, your attention is the only currency that matters, no matter how it's obtained. Then the mirror subtly begins to warp. It shows you another similar theory, then one a little more extreme. It's not forcing you, it's simply offering what it believes you want based on that tiny fraction of a second, when your curiosity outweighed your skepticism. A small step down a dark path? This is the first twist. The mirror ceases to be a passive reflection and becomes an amplifier. It amplifies your biases, your fears, and your guilty pleasures. It creates what psychologists call an echo chamber, a space where all your beliefs, no matter how strange, are constantly validated and reinforced. Now let's talk neuroscience. Every time you see something you like or something that validates your worldview, your brain releases a small amount of dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical associated with pleasure and reward. It's the same substance released with food or gambling. Unknowingly, the algorithm becomes your primary dopamine dealer. It learns exactly what kind of content will give you that little chemical reward. And it delivers, again and again, dose after dose. A short video, a striking image, an outrageous headline. There's always more, just a swipe away. This is where we cross the line. The system is no longer a mirror. It has become a partner in an addictive feedback loop. You give it attention, it gives you dopamine. The more dopamine it gives you, the more attention you pay. It's a self-feeding cycle, growing stronger and stronger with each interaction. And so we arrive at the second part of our question, the puppeteer. The algorithm no longer just reacts to your desires. Now it starts to anticipate and even create them. It knows that after 3 videos on a topic, you'll be ready for a more extreme one. It paves the way, subtly guiding you. It's no longer about giving you what you like, but about shaping what you will like tomorrow. It introduces you to new ideas, new products, new ideologies, always at the edge of your comfort zone, but close enough for you to accept them. It's a form of behavioral engineering on a massive scale. Digital behavior researchers have shown how this process can radicalize people. A casual interest in healthy eating can, through thousands of suggested videos, morph into a dangerous obsession with extreme diets. The path is paved by the algorithm, one click at a time. In the same way, it can turn economic frustration into political hatred. The algorithm detects your dissatisfaction and presents you with content that puts a name and a face to your problem. It offers you an enemy, a simple solution to a complex problem, because outrage is one of the emotions that captures the most attention. The puppeteer's strings are invisible, but they're incredibly strong. You don't feel them because every move you make, you believe you've chosen yourself. You think you've discovered that new idea on your own, but in reality, it was served to you on a digital silver platter designed to hook you. And the addiction isn't just emotional or ideological, it's physiological too. The constant cycle of notifications and variable rewards trains us to be in a state of perpetual alertness. We crave the next novelty, the next like, the next hit of digital validation. Our brain has been recalibrated. This is the puppeteer's power. It doesn't need to force you. It simply exploits the vulnerabilities of human psychology, which evolved in a world without information overload. Our brains aren't equipped to resist a persuasion machine that works 24 hours a day to capture our attention. So what's the final answer? Mirror or puppeteer? The truth, as it often is more complex and sinister. It's not one thing or the other. It's a process. A cycle that begins with a mirror and ends with a puppeteer. A terrifying metamorphosis happening in each of our pockets. First, the algorithm is the most honest mirror there is. It shows you your raw, unfiltered impulses. It reflects that part of you drawn to the dramatic, the conflict-ridden, or the superficial. It forces you to confront the fact that your attention isn't always drawn to what's good or constructive for you. But then, by reflecting that darkness, it feeds it. By constantly showing you what captures you, it strengthens those neural connections. It makes those impulses stronger and more frequent. The mirror doesn't just show an image, it etches it into your mind with every view. It trains you to be the person it sees in the reflection. And once those neural pathways are well established, once the addiction has taken root, the algorithm becomes the puppeteer. It already knows exactly which strings to pull to get a reaction. It knows what stimulus will make you feel outraged, happy, envious, or lonely. And it uses that to keep you hooked. The mirror creates the puppet. Your own behavior, reflected and amplified, is what weaves the strings that ultimately control you. It's a closed and perverse system. You taught the algorithm how to control you, and it does so with an efficiency no human propaganda could ever have dreamed of. This has massive societal consequences. If each person lives in their own algorithmic reality, a bubble designed to reinforce their biases, how can we have a conversation as a society? The algorithm separates us into digital tribes, each convinced of its own truth because that's all they see. Political polarization, misinformation, and the erosion of trust are direct symptoms of this system. It's not that people suddenly became irrational overnight. It's that they've been fed a steady diet of content that confirms their fears and suspicions, served by an invisible puppeteer. The question then isn't how to stop the algorithm. That's impossible. The question is how to reclaim our autonomy in a world designed to hijack it. Can we learn to use these tools without them using us? Can we be aware of the manipulation as it's happening? The first step is awareness. Understanding that every piece of content you consume is an algorithmic choice, not a neutral reflection of reality. It's a suggestion with an agenda. Knowing this gives you armor. It allows you to question what you see. Why am I being shown this right now? The second step is active consumption instead of passive. Instead of letting the feed carry you along, actively seek out content that challenges your viewpoints. Deliberately step out of your echo chamber. Follow people you disagree with. Break the pattern the algorithm has created for you. Finally, it's crucial to cultivate mindfulness. Attention is the resource the algorithm wants to extract from you. If you can control your attention, you can control your digital experience. This means taking breaks, designating screen-free times, and consciously choosing where you invest your mental energy. The algorithm isn't inherently good or bad. It's a tool. But it's the most powerful tool of persuasion ever created, and it's in the hands of companies whose business model relies on keeping us addicted. The responsibility, therefore, falls on us to understand and resist it. We're not just passive victims. We are half of the equation. The algorithm learns from us. If we change our habits, if we value depth over superficiality, nuance over outrage, the algorithm will have to adapt. We can collectively retrain it to reflect the best of us. Next time you're aimlessly scrolling, pause for a second. Look at the content being presented to you and ask yourself, did I choose this or did this choose me? In that pause, in that small question, lies the beginning of your digital freedom. It's the act of taking back the reins. This system isn't a silent conspiracy, it's simply the logical consequence of a business model based on the attention economy. The goal isn't to control you for some malevolent purpose, but simply to keep your eyes on the screen to sell you advertising more effectively. The outcome, however, is the same. Our cognitive vulnerabilities, like confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs, are exploited on an industrial scale. The algorithm gives us exactly what our primitive brain craves, not the truth, but certainty and belonging to a tribe. Furthermore, the constant novelty effect keeps us in a state of perpetual stimulation. The brain is drawn to the new and the unexpected. Platforms are designed to offer an infinite supply of small surprises, making it incredibly difficult to voluntarily disconnect from that source of stimuli. The problem is exacerbated because these systems learn and improve every day. The algorithm manipulating you today is the dumbest one you'll ever experience. With every piece of data it collects, it becomes more precise, more persuasive, and more efficient at predicting and shaping your behavior. It's an arms race for your mind. Sociology teaches us about the social construction of reality. What we perceive as real is often a product of our environment and interactions. Now, the algorithm is the principal architect of that reality for billions of people, creating parallel realities that rarely intersect. This fragmentation is perhaps the most dangerous legacy. It undermines the very foundation of democracy, which requires a shared understanding of facts to function. When reality itself becomes an a la carte menu, debate and compromise become almost impossible to achieve. Everyone defends their own castle. Even our very identity is affected. We present ourselves online through curated profiles, and the algorithm reflects back an image of who it believes we are. Over time, we can start to act and think more like our digital profile, a simplified and amplified version of ourselves. A caricature. Philosophers like Byung-Chul Han speak of a burnout society, where exploitation no longer comes from a boss but from ourselves, driven by self-optimization. The algorithm fuels this dynamic, constantly showing us how we could be more productive, more beautiful, more successful, keeping us in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction. The problem of free will becomes central. If your choices are heavily influenced by a machine designed to steer you in a specific direction, how free are those choices really? Where does your will end and the algorithm's programming begin? The line becomes increasingly blurred. It's not about demonizing technology. It's about recognizing the immense power asymmetry that exists. On one side, you have your own human vulnerabilities. On the other, you have supercomputers and teams of the world's best engineers and psychologists working to keep you hooked. It's not a fair fight. Regulation could be part of the solution, demanding more transparency about how these algorithms operate. If platforms had to disclose why they show you certain content, you'd have more power to decide whether to accept it or not. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, as the saying goes. Digital literacy is another key tool. We need to teach younger generations and ourselves to be skeptical, to fact-check information, and to understand the mechanisms of online persuasion. Being an informed digital citizen is a survival skill in the 21st century. The solution won't come from a single source. It requires a combined effort from individuals who must seek autonomy, from educators who must teach critical thinking, and from governments who must create a framework that protects citizens from digital exploitation without stifling innovation. We must remember that behind every data point is a human being. Behind every engagement or watch time metric is a life, with its hopes, fears, and finite time. The optimization of these metrics at all costs dehumanizes the experience and reduces us to mere data points in a system. The design of these platforms could change. Instead of optimizing solely for attention, they could optimize for well-being, for learning, or for genuine connection. This would require a fundamental shift in the business model, moving away from surveillance-based advertising. A difficult change, but not impossible. Imagine a feed that, after a while, asked you if you felt better or worse than when you started browsing. Imagine an algorithm that suggested you take a break or go for a walk. These are design features that prioritize the human over the metric. A more humane technology is possible. Dystopia isn't an inevitable future. It's a choice. Current technology is the result of thousands of design decisions made by a relatively small group of people. Different decisions can be made to build a digital future that empowers us instead of exploiting us. The fight for that future is happening right now. The language we use matters. By calling it a feed, which implies being fed, we're already in a passive framework. We're livestock being nourished. Changing our perspective to view it as a stream of information that we can direct or ignore is a small but powerful mental shift. It gives us back control. Let's think about loneliness. Many studies point to it as a modern epidemic. Social media, designed to connect, often exacerbates this feeling. The algorithm shows us perfect lives, creating a sense of inadequacy, and keeps us in superficial interactions that don't replace real human connection. This paradox is central. We're more connected than ever, yet we feel more alone. The algorithm gives us the illusion of community, of belonging to a group of like-minded people, but it's a fragile community based on a common enemy or a consumer interest, not on a deep human bond. The puppeteer, in this case, sells us a false remedy for the loneliness it helps create. We feel lonely, so we turn to the screen for comfort. The screen gives us a temporary fix with its rewards, but in the long run, it isolates us even further from the real world. Another dangerous loop. Speed is another factor. The algorithm has accustomed us to instant gratification. This reduces our capacity for patience and our tolerance for boredom. Boredom, however, is often the cradle of creativity, introspection, and deep ideas. By eliminating it, we become more superficial. When the real world seems slow, boring, and complex compared to the exciting and simplified version the algorithm offers us, we start to prefer the reflection to the real object. We prefer simulation over reality. This is a dangerous tipping point for any civilization. When the map becomes more attractive than the territory, the struggle, therefore, is also about reclaiming an appreciation for the slow, the complex, and the real. It's about learning to find beauty in an uninterrupted conversation, in a book that requires concentration, or in the simple observation of the world without the mediation of a screen. It's an act of quiet rebellion. Anthropologist Edward T. Hall spoke about how our tools shape us. We don't just use tools, they reconfigure us. The hammer changes the hand, the book changes the mind, and the algorithm is changing the very structure of our consciousness and how we relate to the world. Memory is also affected. We no longer need to remember as much information because everything is a search query away. This can free up cognitive space, but it can also atrophy our capacity for memorization and for making deep connections between the ideas we've internalized. We externalize our minds. This externalization makes us incredibly dependent on the system. If the network went down, if we lost access to our external memory, we would feel lost, not just informatively, but existentially. Who are we without the digital archive we've built that defines us? So the algorithm isn't just a mirror or a puppeteer. It's also the architect of our new cage. A comfortable, entertaining, and personalized cage, but a cage nonetheless. What sociologist Max Weber called an iron cage, but now it's made of fiber optics and code. To escape this cage, individual willpower isn't enough. A cultural shift is needed. We need to start valuing and celebrating disconnection, privacy, and digital autonomy. We need to create social norms that make being constantly online less desirable. Perhaps the deepest question is about desire itself. The algorithm manipulates our desires, but where do they originally come from? Buddhist philosophy, for example, would say that desire is the root of suffering. By feeding an endless cycle of desire and gratification, the algorithm keeps us in a state of perpetual suffering. It sells us the idea that happiness lies in the next video, the next purchase, the next update, but it's a carrot on a stick that we can never quite reach. True satisfaction, many thinkers would argue, comes from mastery, community, and purpose, things the algorithm cannot offer. The conclusion is that we've outsourced the curation of our own culture and our own minds to an artificial intelligence that doesn't share our values. Its sole value is the optimization of attention, and we're seeing the consequences of that abdication of responsibility everywhere. AI isn't conscious, but its impact is systemic. It's like a force of nature we've unleashed without fully understanding its long-term effects. Just as the inventor of the combustion engine didn't consider climate change, the inventors of the infinite feed didn't consider the shift in human consciousness. We are in the midst of a global experiment where we are all subjects. There's no control group. No one truly knows where this transformation of society and the human psyche will lead us. We can only analyze the effects as they unfold and try to navigate with as much wisdom as possible. Resistance isn't futile. Every time you choose a book instead of the feed, every time you have a face-to-face conversation, every time you allow yourself to be bored and let your mind wander, you're reclaiming a small piece of your humanity. You're voting for a different kind of world with your actions. Let's remember that we are adaptable beings. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and revolutions. We can adapt to this too, but it requires us to awaken from the trance, to see the puppeteer's strings, and to collectively decide to cut them. Let's choose to be the masters of our own minds. The algorithm has no dark intentions, it's simply an optimizer. The problem is that it's optimizing a metric, attention, that isn't aligned with human flourishing. It's like a genie in a bottle granting your wishes literally, without understanding the spirit of what you truly want. This misalignment is the core of the problem. We've built the most powerful information system in human history on a flawed foundation. And now we're living in the house we built, noticing the walls closing in on us. Redesign is the only way out. It's not about rejecting technology, but about demanding better technology. One that serves human interests, not the interests of the attention economy. One that genuinely connects us, educates us, and empowers us to face the complex challenges of our time instead of dividing us. The next generation will be native to this algorithmic world. For them, it will be the natural state of things. That's why it's so crucial we have this conversation now, to lay the groundwork for a healthier relationship with our own creations before their effects become irreversible. The future of attention is the future of consciousness. What we choose to pay attention to defines who we are as individuals and as a species. By ceding control of our attention to the algorithm, we are ceding control over the direction of our own cultural and personal evolution. A lot is at stake. So we return to the initial question, mirror or puppeteer? The final answer is that it's a mirror that becomes a puppeteer. It's a reflection of our own weaknesses amplified until it becomes our master. But the power to break the mirror and cut the strings has always been and still is in our hands. The challenge is immense, but the human capacity for awareness, choice, and change is even greater. We are not automatons. We can understand the system and we can act. Awareness is the first and most crucial act of resistance in the age of the algorithm. And that awareness right now you possess, the choice is ours. We can continue to be ghosts in the machine, feeding the system with our attention and our data, or we can become the pilots, taking control and steering this incredible technology toward a future that reflects the best of our nature, not the worst. How you interact with content after watching this video is already a choice. Will you let yourself be carried away by the next automatic recommendation, or will you pause and consciously choose your next step? The battle for your mind is fought in small moments like that every single day. This isn't a call for despair, but for conscious action. It's a reminder that our mind is the last sanctuary of freedom. Protecting it, cultivating it, and exercising it is the most important task of our time. Technology must be our tool, not our sovereign. We've journeyed from the mirror to the puppeteer, and we've seen how one transforms into the other. We've explored the neuroscience of addiction, the social impact of filter bubbles, and profound philosophical questions about our autonomy. I hope this journey has given you a new perspective. The memorable takeaway is this: the algorithm is a mirror of our desires, but it's a funhouse mirror. One that distorts, exaggerates, and reflects back a version of ourselves that's easier to predict, monetize, and control. The true rebellion is refusing to believe in that caricature and remembering the complexity we hold within. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. Thank you for dedicating your valuable attention to a topic that defines all of us. It's been an honor exploring these ideas with you. Your curiosity is the spark that illuminates the darkness. Never stop questioning, learning, and growing. If you found this analysis valuable and want to keep exploring the hidden corners of psychology, society, and technology, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Join this community of curious minds. Together, we can learn to navigate this complex world. Now, I'd love to hear your perspective. Do you think the algorithm is more of a mirror or a puppeteer in your own life? Have you noticed how it influences your moods or decisions? Share your experience in the comments below. Let's read and learn from each other. Every comment is a valuable piece of data in this conversation. There are no right or wrong answers, just experiences and reflections. By sharing, we not only help ourselves process these ideas, but also contribute to greater collective awareness. Your voice matters. Remember, the goal isn't to fear technology, but to understand it so we can master it. Knowledge is power, and in the digital age, understanding the algorithm is one of the most important forms of personal power you can wield. Use it wisely. Until next time, curious minds, this is a vast and multifaceted topic, and we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to say about artificial intelligence, design ethics, and the future of human-computer interaction. If you'd like a part 2 on a specific aspect, let me know in the comments as well. Your interest guides the channel. Don't forget to share this video with someone you think might be interested. Spreading awareness about these topics is crucial. Every person who better understands the digital world they live in is a victory. Take care and always keep that flame of critical thinking alive. See you in the next video.